Good morning. Good morning to everybody in church and those of you listening at home today. So today I have the honor of wrapping up the series on freedom that David's been preaching about this month. As Christians, we have learned that freedom means freedom from sin. But the oxymoron is that we are only free when we become slaves to Christ. As Americans, however, language that uses slaves or chains or anything that has to do with bondage, as Americans, that's hard for us to come to terms with, right? Most likely, none of us can quote the entire or even a small piece of the Declaration of Independence, but we do know one part well, and it reads like this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are, and this is the part that we all know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So these three things, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, are called unalienable rights. And unalienable just means that it cannot be taken from us. It's ours. But for some of us, the pursuit of happiness looks instead like the relentless, endless pursuit of more. Today I want to talk about something that I believe probably impacts most of you. I know it certainly impacts me. We're going to talk about chasing money and things and material stuff from this world. And so before we begin, I just want to get a little bit of help from you guys answering some questions. And if you're on Facebook Live, leave a comment. How many of you would say that you would not mind being rich? A lot of hands going up. I didn't hear any amens. How many of you would say that you know somebody who is really rich? Okay, about the same number of hands went up. So that's good. Have you guys ever looked at somebody that is really rich and said, if I were rich like they are rich, I'd be better at being rich than they are at being rich. I could do it way better. Like, they are stupid rich. I would be smart rich. We see millionaires spending $25 million on a single watch, purchasing diamond-covered Mercedes-Benz for $48 million. We see them buying yachts, cars that they'll probably not even ever drive, and whole entire private islands. I tell myself, I could do a lot of great things if even I had just $10 million. I mean, I could change some lives. I could provide clean drinking water for millions of people. Countless other things, but no way would I be stupid rich. A more difficult question now. How many of you are really, really, really rich? Not as many hands going up this time. So here's what I know. I know that most of you said that you are not really rich, but you'd love to be really, really rich. And so, like so many people in this world, you continue to pursue, long for, even lust after more money and more stuff. If I could only just have a little bit more. I did research on this idea to find out what people say they would actually do for more money. Some of those I will not repeat in the church. I found an article that talked about what people would do for $5 million. What would you do for $5 million? According to the results, 53% of people would listen to country music for the rest of their lives. People get in your car and you have 5 buttons. You have country, honky-tonk, country, honky-tonk, country. I don't know, for $5 million I could live with that. If you know me, I don't love country music, but I could probably live with that. Some of you would probably be like super rich by now. This one was interesting though. 42% of people polled said that they would have all of their teeth removed. Like, I don't even know who thought of this question. Would you remove your teeth for $5 million? 42% of people said yes. I'm rich! I don't know. Maybe they're going to like go out and buy fake ones with diamonds all over them because they're rich, right? For $5 million, 44% of people would quit the internet for 15 years. This next one is shocking. 50% of people said for $5 million, they would allow a random person to die. That means there are more people that would rather have Carl from Cleveland die than to give up their Angry Birds for 15 years. This next one's kind of hard for me to get my mind around. 24% of people said they would live in solitude, all alone, for the next 20 years for $5 million. Some of you guys are probably like, man, I would pay you to let me be alone for $5. So what is rich? What is rich? I mean, if we want to be rich, how do we know when we get there? How do we know when we become actually rich? So Gallup did a poll and interviewed a bunch of people to find out what's rich. And what's interesting is that their answer depended on their current financial situation. For those who made $30,000 a year, and some of you may make more or a little less, but for $5 million, some of you might make more or a little less, but if you're in the range of $30,000, to be rich, the average response was $74,000. If you slightly over doubled your income, then you would feel very rich. And I know there are some people in this room right now that make $74,000. And you're saying, I got news for you. I don't feel very rich. For those who make $50,000 a year, they responded that it would take about $100,000 for them to feel rich. And again, there are many of you in here probably have a couple kids in college, a mortgage, and a truck payment, and you're saying, from where I'm sitting right now, I don't feel very rich right now. They asked the top earners, so people well into six figures, what does it mean to be rich? And the average response was $5 million in assets. So I'm sorry, anybody in here that has $2 million in assets, you're not rich. So what is rich? Rich is a moving line. I bet some of you are like me. I used to say, if I could only get to this point and get this much stuff, making this much a year, then I would be rich. And what happened? I crossed that line. And then my answer changed. Well, now if I could only get over here, only if I could make this much, then my family would be rich. Crossed another line, and the rich line kept moving. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of more stuff. What do you need to be happy? To feel rich, to feel satisfied in life. Most people would say, I'm not quite sure, but I know that it's a little bit more than I currently have. This is why Jesus talked so much about a right perspective about money and stuff. In Luke 12:15, this is what Jesus said to the crowd. Watch out! Be on your guard. Twice here, Jesus is warning us. It's so important. You better beware because this is dangerous. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Your life, the quality of your life is not measured by stuff. But culture is shouting at you, you need this. You need more. The world says, what you don't have, that is what's going to make you happy. What you don't have, that's what you need. But Jesus says your life does not consist in the abundance of stuff. So to illustrate this, Jesus told us the parable of the rich fool. And this is found in verses 16 through 21. And in this story, there was a rich farmer who had a great harvest, large enough to last for years. He was probably set for the entire life. He had way more than he needed. The man thought, What am I going to do with all these crops? What a problem to have. I have too much money. What am I going to do with this? He said, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to tear down my old barns and I'll build up bigger barns so I can store all my stuff. Then I won't have to work for many years. I can retire early, take it easy, party with my buddies watching Netflix, buy a big truck and a zero-turn lawnmower, a cool fish tank, some expensive suits, and I'll just sit back and enjoy all my stuff. But this is what God said to him. You fool! This very night your life will be demanded of you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be for anyone who stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God. You see, God wasn't mad at this guy because he's rich. In itself, money is not a bad thing. You can do a lot of good with money. Who made him rich? God made him rich. So why would God be upset at somebody that he blessed so much? God gave him this bountiful harvest. He was disappointed in this guy because he was not rich towards God. He was only rich of the things of this world, but he was devastatingly poor in the things that mattered the most. So with that in mind, I want to tell you some good news and I want to tell you some bad news. Everyone here, which one do you want first? You want the good news or the bad news first? Okay, we're going with the good news first because that's how I have it written in my notes. So I'm sorry you asked, but you really had no choice. The good news is this. It's really, really good news, so pay close attention. The good news is you're rich. You are. You're rich. I asked you if you're rich. You said you weren't rich and that you don't really feel rich. But the truth is, you're rich. Some of you, though, don't feel like you're rich because you got more bills than you have money coming in. You're rich, but you don't feel rich. When we recognize that probably around 3 billion people around the world live off of $2 or less every day, while some of you already spent $5 on coffee and $50 on your gas tank this morning alone, we start to get a little bit of perspective. It starts to put it in perspective that based on where most people live in the world, we're actually really rich. And you can tell just how rich you are by the things that bother you, by the things that upset you. Like when you get really mad because your brand new tennis shoes take 3 days to arrive instead of 2. Or when you're trying to get ready in the morning, you open in your walk-in closet in your house with air conditioning, with extra bedrooms and a garage with too much stuff that you even need. And you walk into this closet and you look at hundreds of pieces of clothing. What do you say? I have nothing to wear today. And you go to Haiti and you see a kid with 2 different pairs of tennis shoes on and he is happy. Or when you drive your car, which having a car alone automatically puts us in the richest 15%. When you drive your car to Taco Tierra and they don't put enough ice in your drink. But wait. On top of only having a half cup of ice instead of the 3/4 cup of ice that you desire, it gets worse. You have to settle for Sierra Mist when you clearly asked for Sprite. And it took 3 minutes instead of 1 minute. Man, have they stopped trying altogether? That just makes me so mad. So we can often tell how rich we are simply by the things that bother us. So the good news is that you're really rich. Now I know some people in here right now or the first service, you are having some severe financial problems. We see divorce, we see huge medical bills, we see single parents struggling to make a living. and I don't want to diminish those problems. But as a general whole, most of you that I'm talking to right now are doing pretty okay. We're pretty rich. If we're going to acknowledge before God that He's actually blessed us, that compared to most people in the world, that we're really rich, then what I want is I want to be good at being rich. I want to be rich in a way that honors God. So in order to be good at it, first we have to acknowledge it. So this morning, if you really believe it, can you just say, I'm rich? Now I want you to say it with a little bit of gratitude, like you are really excited about the blessing God's given you. I'm rich. I'm rich. My God has blessed me. I'm rich. I love what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 5:19. He said, moreover, when God gives someone wealth and possessions and the ability to enjoy them, to accept their lot and to be happy in their toil, this is a gift from God. Who gives wealth? Our God gives us wealth. But I'm a self-made man. Everything I got is mine. I worked for it. Me. No. God made you first. God gave you gifts, talents, and an abundance of opportunities. We live in a place with so many opportunities. And God is the one behind it. God has blessed us. That's the good news. Good news is we're rich. But there's bad news, guys. The bad news is you're rich. Bad news. And it really can be bad news. Being rich actually puts us at a tremendous spiritual disadvantage. In fact, Jesus had a very meaningful conversation with a rich, powerful young guy with a lot of stuff. And his stuff was so important to him that it prevented him from becoming a disciple of Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, how hard is it for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven? I tell you, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. The good news is that you're rich. We're blessed. The bad news is that being rich can be a major spiritual disadvantage. Why? Because we've already got a roof over our head. We got food. We can buy everything that we want, way more than we need. And most of us will never know the honor of earnestly praying, God, today give me my daily bread. Because we have a closet full of food. And we have a hard time remembering that it was God that filled our home with those things. Being so rich is also a disadvantage because it is very, very distracting. We have rich people options, rich people opportunities. We're so rich and blessed with opportunities and overwhelmed, exhausted, tired, and we're often missing out on what matters the most. Our kids are in 10 different travel leagues. Our whole Christmas season is filled with buying the right stuff. Stuff that we'll put next to our other stuff, and it has to match the other stuff. And if we don't like it from last year, we'll throw it out because we'll have a yard sale or just throw it in the trash. We could do 100 different things on any given day. We have dozens of restaurants to choose from. Nobody can ever seem to decide which one to go to. We're busy, and we are overwhelmed and tired because of all the rich people opportunities that we have. And the disadvantage with this is that this is distracting. If you don't believe me, go to some developing nation. Go to Honduras. Go to Haiti. Go to Mexico. Even go right here at home. Go to West Virginia. On day number 1, you'll be shocked. You exit your comfort zone and you enter a new world. You'll look around at people living in tents. They don't know where their food's coming from. Millions of them. And you'll feel sick at the extreme poverty. How can they live like this? Oh man, I feel so sorry for them. You won't believe what you'll see. And you'll feel so much sorrow and compassion that you will weep. On day 3 or 4, you're going to realize suddenly that they have something that you don't have. They've got time with people. And they've got relationships. And oftentimes they have intimacy with God. And what they don't have, that you have, is stress and anxiety and the burden of managing so much stuff. And on day 5 or so, you might find a small part of yourself jealous. Jealous because of their simplicity and the relationships that they share with one another and with God. It's a disadvantage sometimes to have so much stuff. Another reason that it's a disadvantage is this. Because to whom much is given, much is required. In other words, it's great you're rich because you can truly enjoy what God's blessed you with. And that honors God. Enjoy it. But God expects more because we're rich. So we truly do have a greater responsibility. But every moment of every day, culture is shouting at us, what you don't have is what you need. The newer phone, a bigger TV, the shoes, the watch, the sunglasses, the headphones, the car, the big house with the perfect yard, the artwork, the vacations. That's what you need. You're led to believe that the emptiness, whatever loneliness or emptiness you feel inside, can only be filled with money and with stuff. But we know this is a lie. We know it because we've tried it and it doesn't fill us. That's why Jesus said, be on your guard. Why? Because life, what really matters, cannot be found in an abundance of stuff. The problem is that our lifestyles often don't reflect this truth. And if you're really, really honest, you might say, yeah, I'm spending more money than I'm making right now. Why? Because I've bought into the lie that more stuff is what matters. Here's what we have to understand. Whenever we believe the lie that more money, more things, and more stuff is what we need to be satisfied and blessed and happy in this life, we have to recognize then that we are under the curse of money. The curse of money. Jim Carrey, famous actor and comedian, said this, I think everybody should get rich and famous and do anything that they want so they can find out that it is not the answer to any of their problems. More money won't give you more true friends. You might get more people around you, but those people don't care about you. More money won't make you a better husband or wife. It won't make you a better parent. It won't make your depression go away. And it won't keep your kids off of drugs. If anything, it gives them more money to get hooked. It will not cure my son, and it will never make me happier. What we don't need is more money and more stuff. What we don't need is more of what's temporary. What we do need is more of what is eternal. We need less of the things of this world and more of the things of the heavenly world. What we do need is more Jesus. More meaningful, genuinely loving relationships. More service towards our fellow man. More time in the body of Christ. I don't want to be under the power of money and stuff. I want to be under the power of God. Living in the blessings of the eternal world. Living a life that truly honors God. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, Paul instructs Timothy to have a discussion with the rich people of the church. Who are the rich people? Who are they talking to here? They're talking to me. They're talking to you. Not somebody else. This is to us. And it says, command those who are rich in this present world, not to be arrogant, not to think that you're any better than anybody else because you have more stuff than them, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Don't feel guilty for being blessed by God. God gave this to you. He loves to bless His children. You have every right to spend on your children, to have a nice car, to take a nice vacation, to live a great life, because God has blessed you with this. But it is not all for you. To whom much is given, and that's all of us, much is expected. And that's why God's word to us rich people is this: command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share. In this way, they will lay up treasures for themselves as a firm foundation for the coming age, so that they may take hold of the life that is truly life. Be generous. Be willing to share. Be rich in good deeds so you can take hold of the life that is truly life. God has blessed me. God has blessed me. Everybody say this with me. God has blessed me. Feel it. It's good news. It's really, really good news. But it can be a spiritual disadvantage. And more is expected of us. My God has blessed me with more than I need. But I will not trust in stuff, but in the one who richly provides. And because He has given me more, with everything in me, I am called, I am equipped, and I am empowered to make a difference in this world. The temporary things of this life, they promise, but they don't deliver. That new outfit, that feels good at first, but that wears off so quickly. We end up throwing it in the trash. We need less of that. More of the things that matter. Brothers and sisters, let's do something that matters. Let's do something that lasts. Let's make a difference like only rich people can make a difference. Let's take what's been given to us and let's use it as a blessing to others. This morning we thank God. And many of us are recognizing the blessings that He's given us. He's given to our families. We don't deserve them. I didn't do anything to earn them. He is the source. And we recognize that we're called to be good stewards of these blessings. And we ask God to give us a sense of responsibility. That what we have isn't just for us. But You've blessed us to make a difference in the lives of others. God, we pray that You'll give us eyes to see opportunities this week to do good, to share, to be generous, and to truly find the life that is worth living. Join me this morning at the altar as we pray together.